Stop. Before you hear another word, answer this question honestly. When was the last time you kept a promise to yourself? Not a promise to your boss, not a promise to your family, a promise to yourself. That workout you said you'd do, that project you swore you'd finish, that conversation you told yourself you'd finally have. You already know the answer, and that answer is exactly why you're here. There's a voice in your head that has been lying to you for years. It sounds like you. It uses your vocabulary. It knows your history, your fears, your insecurities. And every single day, it whispers something that sounds like wisdom, but is actually poison. It says, not today. It says, you're not ready. It says, what's the rush? That voice is not your intuition. That voice is not your protector. That voice is a parasite that has been feeding on your potential since the day you first learned to doubt yourself. And here's what makes it dangerous. You've been treating it like a friend. I'm not going to waste your time with gentle encouragement. You've heard enough of that. You've read the books that told you to love yourself, accept yourself, be patient with yourself. And where has that gotten you? You're still here, still stuck, still breaking the same promises, still waking up with ambition and going to bed with excuses. Something has to die today, and that something is the version of you that negotiates with weakness. Let me show you what's actually happening in your skull every time you hesitate. A thought appears. It's not random. It's calculated. Your brain generates approximately 6,000 thoughts per day, and a significant percentage of those thoughts have one purpose: to keep you safe. Not successful, not fulfilled. Safe, comfortable, unchanged. When you decide to do something difficult, your limbic system, the ancient survival machinery buried deep in your brain, sends out an alarm. Danger, uncertainty, potential failure. And that alarm doesn't come as a red flashing light. It comes as a thought, a reasonable sounding, logical, protective thought. Maybe you should think about this more carefully. You don't have enough information yet. Remember what happened last time. These thoughts feel like wisdom because they're designed to feel like wisdom. Your brain has been perfecting this deception for millions of years. It kept your ancestors alive by making them cautious. But you're not running from predators anymore. You're running from your own potential. And that ancient machinery doesn't know the difference. MIT's Behavioral Research Lab spent 8 years studying decision-making under uncertainty. What they found should terrify you. The human brain begins generating escape routes within 3 to 5 seconds of encountering discomfort. Not minutes, seconds. By the time you've finished your first hesitation, your brain has already constructed a complete argument for why you shouldn't act. This is why motivation fails. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are controlled by the same limbic system that's trying to keep you average. You feel motivated on Monday. By Wednesday, your brain has manufactured enough reasonable-sounding excuses to bury that motivation under a mountain of later. Elite performers figured this out decades ago. They stopped trusting how they feel. They started trusting who they are. There's a fundamental difference between someone who says, "I'm trying to wake up early," and someone who says, "I'm a person who wakes up early." The first is negotiating. The second has already decided. The first leaves room for the weak voice to argue. The second has closed the courtroom. Navy SEAL training doesn't produce exceptional soldiers by teaching them to manage their fears. It produces exceptional soldiers by teaching them to act before fear has time to file its complaint. The instructors know something that most civilians never learn. Your brain will always vote for comfort. Always. The only way to override that vote is to move before the ballot is cast. This is what I call the infiltration problem. Your mind is a fortress, but you've left the gates wide open. Every weak thought that enters gets a hearing, gets consideration, gets the chance to present its case. And while you're sitting there like a judge weighing the evidence, the thought has already done its damage. It's already planted doubt, already stolen momentum, already made inaction feel like the reasonable choice. From this moment forward, weak thoughts get no hearing, no consideration, no second sentence. They are identified and eliminated at the gate, not because you're suppressing them, not because you're pretending they don't exist, but because you've finally understood what they actually are: enemies dressed as advisors. Think about the security protocol at any high-value facility: a government building, a military base, a bank vault. Threats are not invited in for conversation. They're not given the opportunity to explain themselves. They're identified and neutralized. Your mind deserves the same level of protection. Your potential is more valuable than anything in any vault. But here's what most people get wrong. They think this is about willpower. They think if they just try harder, push more, grind longer, they'll eventually win. They won't. Willpower is a finite resource. Studies from Case Western Reserve University prove that willpower depletes throughout the day like a battery. By evening, most people have nothing left. This is why you make your worst decisions at night. This is why diets fail after dinner. This is why "I'll start tomorrow" always sounds so convincing at 11 p.m. The solution isn't more willpower. The solution is a system that doesn't require willpower. A mental architecture that rejects weakness automatically, the same way your immune system rejects disease without your conscious involvement. That's what we're building here. Not motivation, not inspiration, not another temporary surge of enthusiasm that fades by next week. We're installing a permanent filtration system that identifies weak thoughts, eliminates them instantly, and protects your identity from contamination. The voice that has been lying to you is about to lose its power. Not because you'll fight it. Fighting implies a fair contest. This isn't fair. This is an execution. But before you can execute anything, you need to understand the weapon that changes everything. It takes exactly 5 seconds to deploy. It requires zero preparation. And once you master it, weak thoughts won't just be rejected. They'll stop showing up entirely. The next chapter reveals the 5-second window that separates the elite from the average. Miss that window, and your brain wins. Catch it, and you become unstoppable. The infiltration is over. The counterattack begins now. Chapter 2: The 5-Second War. Motivation is a liar. It shows up uninvited, makes you feel invincible, convinces you that this time will be different. And then, the moment things get hard, it vanishes. No warning, no explanation, just gone. And you're left standing there wondering what happened to all that fire you felt yesterday. Here's the truth that the self-help industry doesn't want you to hear. Motivation was never designed to help you succeed. Motivation is a chemical response. A temporary spike of dopamine and norepinephrine that your brain produces when it anticipates reward. It feels like power, but it's actually just a prediction. And predictions don't finish projects. Predictions don't build businesses. Predictions don't change lives. If you've been waiting to feel motivated before you act, you've been playing a game you were designed to lose. The human brain has one primary objective: survival. Not success, not growth, not fulfillment. Survival. And survival, from your brain's perspective, means avoiding anything that might cause discomfort, uncertainty, or failure. Your limbic system doesn't care about your goals. It cares about keeping you alive. And the easiest way to stay alive is to stay exactly where you are. This is the war you're fighting every single day. Not against external obstacles, not against other people, against your own neurology. And right now, your neurology is winning. But there's a gap in your brain's defense system. A window so small that most people never notice it exists. And if you learn to exploit that window, everything changes. Researchers at MIT spent nearly a decade studying the neuroscience of hesitation. They wanted to understand why humans consistently fail to act on their own intentions. Why we know what to do but don't do it. Why we set goals and abandon them. Why we break promises to ourselves with alarming regularity. What they discovered was a timing mechanism. When your brain encounters a task that involves discomfort or uncertainty, it doesn't immediately shut you down. There's a delay. A buffer period of approximately 5 seconds where your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part of your brain, still has control. During those 5 seconds, action is possible. Momentum can be created. The weak voice hasn't yet organized its argument. But after 5 seconds, the limbic system takes over. It floods your consciousness with doubt, fear, and an overwhelming catalog of reasons why you shouldn't act. And once that flood begins, it's almost impossible to stop. The window closes. The opportunity dies. And you're left with nothing but another excuse and another promise to try again tomorrow. This is why you can feel completely committed to something at night, and completely resistant to it in the morning. This is why the alarm goes off, and your brain instantly manufactures 17 reasons to stay in bed. This is why you can spend months planning a project and years never starting it. Your brain is faster than your intentions, unless you move first. The 5-second rule is not a motivational trick. It's a neurological intervention. The moment you feel the impulse to act on a goal, you have 5 seconds to physically move before your brain kills the impulse. Not think about moving. Not plan to move. Move. Stand up. Take a step. Open the laptop. Pick up the phone. Any physical action that commits you to the trajectory before your limbic system can file its objection. Average performers wait until they feel ready. They wait for the fear to subside, for the doubt to clear, for the conditions to be perfect. They treat their emotions as prerequisites for action, and so they wait, and wait, and wait, until the waiting becomes permanent. Elite performers understand that readiness is a myth. You will never feel ready to do anything important. Your brain will never give you permission to be uncomfortable. The fear doesn't go away. The doubt doesn't disappear. You simply learn to act before they have time to vote. There's a phrase used in military combat training: action before cognition. Soldiers are taught to respond to threats before their conscious mind has time to process the danger. Not because thinking is bad, but because in high-stakes moments, thinking is too slow. By the time you've analyzed the threat has already won. Your weak thoughts are threats. Every hesitation is a threat. Every maybe later is a threat. And you've been giving these threats full access to your decision-making process. You've been letting them speak, letting them argue, letting them delay. And every time they delay, they win. The 5-second window is your weapon. But a weapon is useless if you don't deploy it in time. Here's how this works in practice. Your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. Within 1 second, your brain registers discomfort. By second 2, it's already searching for justification to stay in bed. By second 3, it's found 17 of them. You're tired. You stayed up late. 1 more hour won't hurt. You can work out tonight instead. The excuses stack so fast you can't even distinguish them from your own thoughts. But if you move by second 5, none of that matters. If your feet hit the floor before the negotiation begins, the negotiation never happens. You've already won. Not because you overpowered your brain with willpower, but because you outpaced it with speed. This is why counting backward works. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. The countdown interrupts the excuse generation process. It gives your prefrontal cortex a task, a focal point, something to do besides listen to your limbic system's complaints. By the time you hit 1, you've created enough momentum to break through the resistance. Some people think this sounds too simple. They want complex systems, elaborate strategies, 17-step frameworks with worksheets and accountability partners. But complexity is just another form of delay, another way for your brain to buy time, another excuse dressed up as preparation. The war is simple. Your brain wants comfort. You want growth. Growth requires discomfort. Therefore, your brain will resist growth. The only way to win is to act faster than the resistance can form. This isn't about being reckless. This isn't about making impulsive decisions without thought. Strategic thinking happens before the moment of action. You decide tonight that you're waking up at 6. The thinking is done. The analysis is complete. When the alarm rings, there's nothing left to consider. There's only execution. The average person treats every moment like a new decision. Should I get up today? Should I work out today? Should I make that call today? They relitigate the same choices over and over, and every relitigation gives their limbic system another chance to win. The elite person decides once. Then they remove the option to reconsider. The alarm is not a question. It's a command. The workout is not a possibility. It's an appointment with their identity. The call is not something they might do. It's something they've already done in their mind. But speed alone won't save you. Moving fast is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Because there's a deeper question your brain will eventually ask. A question that can undermine even the fastest reflexes. That question is, who are you? Not what do you want? Not what should you do? Who are you? Because your actions will always align with your identity. Always. No exception. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with discipline, you will struggle with discipline. If you see yourself as someone who quits when things get hard, you will quit when things get hard. The 5-second rule can win individual battles, but identity wins the war. The next chapter reveals why your identity is the most powerful force in your psychology and how to rebuild it from the foundation up. Because speed gets you moving, but identity determines where you end up. The 5-second war is now yours to fight. The only question is whether you'll deploy the weapon or let it rust while your brain keeps winning. Chapter 3: Identity Warfare. Every behavior you've ever repeated started with a single sentence. Not a goal, not a plan, a sentence. And that sentence began with 2 words that determined everything that followed. I am someone who wakes up early. I am someone who finishes what they start. I am someone who stays calm under pressure. Or the opposite. I am someone who struggles with discipline. I am someone who always procrastinates. I am someone who can't stick to anything. Whatever words follow, I am become prophecy. Not because of magic, not because of manifestation, because of neurology. Your brain is a prediction machine, and it predicts your behavior based on how you've defined yourself. Once a definition is established, your brain works tirelessly to prove it correct. This is the discovery that destroyed everything psychology thought it knew about behavior change. Stanford's Behavioral Research Division spent 23 years studying why some people transform their lives while others stay stuck despite identical information, identical resources, identical opportunities. They controlled for intelligence. They controlled for socioeconomic background. They controlled for age, education, and prior experience. None of it mattered. The single variable that predicted lasting change was identity. People who said, "I'm trying to quit smoking," failed at nearly 5 times the rate of people who said, "I'm not a smoker." People who said, "I'm trying to get in shape," abandoned their programs within weeks. People who said, "I'm an athlete," showed up to the gym even when motivation disappeared. The language sounds almost identical. The results were catastrophically different. This is what separates everyone who has read self-help books from everyone who has actually changed. Information doesn't create transformation. Identity does. You can memorize every productivity technique ever invented. You can understand the neuroscience of habit formation. You can recite motivational quotes in your sleep. None of it matters if your internal definition remains unchanged. Your brain has a name for this phenomenon: cognitive consistency. It demands that your actions align with your beliefs about yourself. When there's a mismatch, when your behavior contradicts your identity, your brain experiences a form of psychological pain, and it will do anything to eliminate that pain, usually by abandoning the new behavior and returning to the old identity. This is why willpower fails. Willpower tries to force behavior that conflicts with identity. It's like pushing a boulder uphill while gravity pulls it back down. You might make progress for a while, but the moment you get tired, the boulder rolls right back where it started. The only way to win is to change the direction of gravity. Make your identity pull you toward the behavior instead of away from it. Think about someone you know who seems effortlessly disciplined. Maybe they exercise every day without apparent struggle. Maybe they eat clean without constant temptation. Maybe they wake up at 5 a.m. like it's nothing. You probably assume they have more willpower than you. They don't. They have a different identity than you. For them, the workout isn't a decision. It's an expression of who they are. Skipping it would create cognitive dissonance. Their brain wouldn't allow it. Not because they're forcing compliance, but because compliance is automatic. The behavior flows from the identity like water flows downhill. Average performers try to build habits. Elite performers build identities. Average performers ask, "What should I do today?" Elite performers ask, "Who am I? And what does that person do?" The first question invites negotiation. The second question has already decided. Here's where most people make the critical mistake. They try to earn their identity through behavior. They think, once I've worked out for 90 days, then I can call myself an athlete. Once I've written a book, then I can call myself a writer. Once I've made $1 million, then I can call myself successful. This is backwards, fatally backwards. Identity doesn't follow behavior. Behavior follows identity. You don't become a writer by writing. You write because you've decided you're a writer. You don't become disciplined by practicing discipline. You practice discipline because you've decided you're a disciplined person. The decision comes first. The evidence comes second. This feels dangerous to most people. It feels like lying. It feels arrogant to claim an identity you haven't yet proven. But consider the alternative. If you wait until you have proof, you'll never start. Because without the identity, you won't generate the behavior. And without the behavior, you'll never accumulate the proof. You'll stay trapped in an endless loop of waiting for permission that never comes. The elite don't wait for permission. They grant it to themselves. Now, here's the part that makes this practical instead of theoretical. Changing your identity isn't about reciting affirmations in the mirror. Affirmations fail precisely because they try to install new identity without corresponding evidence. Your brain isn't stupid. Tell it you're confident while your hands are shaking, and it knows you're lying. The dissonance actually makes things worse. Real identity change requires what I call the mirror test. And it's brutal. Stand in front of a mirror. Look at your life. Not your potential. Not your intentions. Your actual life. The evidence. The exposed patterns. What time do you really wake up? What do you really eat? How do you really spend your hours? What promises have you really kept? The person in that mirror is your current identity. Not the person you think you are. Not the person you want to be. The person your behavior has proven you to be. Most people can't handle this test. They look away. They make excuses. They blame circumstances. But the mirror doesn't lie. The mirror shows you exactly who you've been choosing to be. Here's the power in this brutal honesty. Once you accept the current identity, you can change it. Not by pretending, by deciding. You look at that mirror and you say, that was who I was. This is who I am now. And then you prove it. Not in 90 days. Not next month. Today. Right now. With the very next decision. Every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. Skip the workout, and you've cast a vote for the identity of someone who skips workouts. Do the workout, and you've cast a vote for the identity of someone who shows up. The votes accumulate. The identity solidifies. And eventually, the behavior becomes automatic because it's simply who you are. This is why small wins matter more than big goals. A small win is a vote. Make your bed, and you voted for being someone who maintains order. Read for 10 minutes, and you voted for being someone who learns. Send that email, and you voted for being someone who takes action. The size of the win is irrelevant. The vote is what counts. The Japanese call this Kaizen, continuous small improvements that compound into transformation. But Kaizen isn't really about improvement. It's about identity. Each small improvement is proof. Each proof strengthens the identity. Each strengthened identity makes the next improvement easier. The upward spiral replaces the downward spiral. Your identity is the most powerful force in your psychology. More powerful than motivation. More powerful than willpower. More powerful than any external circumstance. Align your identity with your goals, and your brain becomes your ally. Leave them misaligned, and you'll fight yourself forever. But here's what no one tells you. Your identity, as powerful as it is, remains vulnerable. There's a force that can corrupt it overnight. A force that most people invite into their lives without realizing the damage it causes. That force is your own mouth. The words you speak. The goals you announce. The promises you make public before you've made them real. The next chapter reveals why sharing your goals might be the single most destructive habit you have, and why the path to becoming unstoppable requires something most people fear: silence. Your identity is under construction. Protect it. Chapter 4: The Negotiation Trap. There's a conversation happening inside your head right now that you're not supposed to win. It started years ago, maybe decades. And it's been running on repeat ever since, so consistent that you've stopped noticing it. But it's there. Every morning when the alarm goes off. Every time you face something difficult. Every moment you consider doing something that might change your life. The conversation sounds reasonable. It sounds like thinking. It sounds like you being careful, responsible, measured. But it's not. It's a negotiation. And in this negotiation, you are always the loser. Here's what nobody told you about your own mind. It argues in bad faith. The voice that says, maybe tomorrow, has no intention of following through tomorrow. The voice that says, you need more preparation, will never tell you when you're prepared enough. The voice that says, "Let's think about this," doesn't want to think. It wants to delay until the opportunity dies. You've been negotiating with an enemy that has already decided on the outcome. Think about the last time you talked yourself out of something. Maybe it was a workout. Maybe it was a difficult conversation. Maybe it was starting that project you've been delaying for months. The voice appeared. It made an argument, and you engaged with it. You weighed the pros and cons. You considered the counterpoints. You treated the voice like a reasonable participant in a fair discussion. That was your mistake. You gave it a seat at the table. The moment you engage with a weak thought, you've already lost. Not because the thought is stronger than you, but because engagement itself is defeat. The weak thought doesn't need to win the argument. It just needs to create delay. It just needs to burn through those 5 seconds we talked about in the last chapter. It just needs to keep you talking until your prefrontal cortex gives up and your limbic system takes control. This is what I call the negotiation trap, and almost everyone falls into it every single day. Let me show you how it works. You decide to wake up at 5 a.m. The alarm goes off. Within 2 seconds, the first thought appears. You only got 6 hours of sleep. Now, a reasonable person would consider this thought. After all, sleep is important. Health matters. Maybe you should listen. So you engage. You start calculating. Was it 6 hours or closer to 5.5? What time did you actually fall asleep? Is 1 more hour really that bad? You're being rational. You're weighing the evidence. And while you're weighing, the second thought arrives. You can work out tonight instead. Another reasonable point. The gym is open until 10 p.m. There's flexibility here. Why be rigid? Now you're defending your original decision against 2 opponents. The negotiation is getting complicated. More thoughts pile in. Your body is tired. Your schedule is stressful. One day won't derail everything. Champions rest when they need to. By the time you've processed all these arguments, 8 minutes have passed. You're still in bed, and you've convinced yourself that staying there is actually the smart choice, the responsible choice, the healthy choice. You didn't lose a battle of willpower. You lost because you agreed to fight on terms that guaranteed your defeat. Elite performers don't negotiate. They don't engage. They don't treat weak thoughts as worthy of response. A weak thought appears, and it gets nothing. No consideration, no counterargument, no acknowledgement that it even exists. This sounds extreme. It sounds unhealthy. Shouldn't you listen to your body? Shouldn't you consider all perspectives? Shouldn't you be flexible and adaptive? No, not when you're at war with yourself. Flexibility is a virtue when you're dealing with external circumstances. Plans change. Situations evolve. Adaptation is necessary. But your internal weak voice is not an external circumstance. It's not new information. It's not a changing situation. It's the same voice saying the same things it's always said, dressed up in whatever costume fits the current moment. The voice that tells you to skip the gym today is the same voice that told you to skip it last week. The voice that says you're not ready for that opportunity is the same voice that said you weren't ready for the last one. The voice that suggests waiting until tomorrow has been suggesting that since you were old enough to procrastinate. It doesn't deserve a fresh hearing. It deserves silence. Here's the rule. Weak thoughts get 1 sentence. Not 1 argument. Not 1 conversation. 1 sentence. The thought appears, and you recognize it immediately. That's not me. That's the resistance. End of discussion. No follow-up. No elaboration. No negotiation. This is what cognitive behavioral researchers call thought diffusion. You separate yourself from the thought. You observe it as an external object rather than experiencing it as internal truth. The thought says you're tired. You don't argue. You don't agree. You simply note. There's a thought about being tired. And then you act according to your identity, not according to the thought. The average person hears a thought and becomes the thought. They feel tired, so they are tired. They feel afraid, so they are afraid. They feel unmotivated, so they are unmotivated. Their entire experience of reality is dictated by whatever random electrical impulse happens to fire in their neurons. The elite person hears a thought and observes the thought. They feel tired, and they notice the feeling while getting up anyway. They feel afraid, and they acknowledge the fear while taking action anyway. They feel unmotivated, and they register the absence of motivation while executing anyway. The difference isn't courage. It's perspective. Your thoughts are not commands. They're suggestions. And most of them are bad suggestions generated by a brain that wants you to remain safely average. You don't have to obey them. You don't have to argue with them. You just have to recognize them for what they are and keep moving. But here's where it gets difficult. Some of those weak thoughts have been with you so long that they feel like core truths. They feel like your personality. They've woven themselves so deeply into your identity that rejecting them feels like rejecting yourself. I'm just not a morning person. I've never been good at follow through. I'm someone who works better under pressure, so I'll wait until the deadline. These aren't observations. They're identities you've accepted through years of negotiation. Every time the weak thought appeared and you engaged with it, you reinforced the pattern. Every time you let it win, you strengthened its position. Now it doesn't even feel like a negotiation anymore. It feels like reality. But it's not reality. It's a story you've told yourself so many times that you've forgotten you're the author. You can write a different story, starting now, but you can't write it while you're still in conversation with the old narrator. The old voice has to be fired, permanently. No severance package, no exit interview, just gone. One sentence, that's not me. And then action. The negotiation trap has stolen years from millions of people. Years of potential, years of growth, years of becoming who they were capable of becoming, all lost in conversations that were never fair to begin with. You're done negotiating. From this moment forward, weak thoughts get nothing from you. No attention, no energy, no engagement. But here's what makes this sustainable. What makes it permanent instead of another temporary burst of determination? There's a mindset shift that transforms everything. A realization so powerful that once you internalize it, you'll never see yourself or your circumstances the same way again. That realization is this: everything in your life is your fault. And that's not a burden. That's your liberation. The next chapter will show you why radical ownership is the key to ultimate power, and why blaming anything outside yourself is the fastest way to guarantee you stay exactly where you are. Stop negotiating. Start owning. Chapter 5. Radical Ownership, the Liberation. Everything bad in your life is your fault. Your financial situation, your fault. Your relationships, your fault. Your career stagnation, your fault. Your health, your fault. Every disappointment, every failure, every unrealized dream, your fault. And that's the best news you've ever heard. Most people reject this idea immediately. It feels unfair. It feels harsh. What about the economy? What about bad luck? What about the people who betrayed you? The circumstances that conspired against you? The opportunities that never came your way? What about them? Here's what you need to understand. Blame is not about fairness. Blame is about power. Whoever you blame for your problems is whoever controls your life. Blame the economy, and the economy controls you. Blame your parents, and your past controls you. Blame your boss, and your job controls you. Every finger you point outward is a piece of your power you're handing to someone or something else. The moment you take complete responsibility for everything in your life, you take complete control. Not because you caused every bad thing that happened, but because you're the only one who can change what happens next. This is what Navy SEALs call extreme ownership, and it's the single most transformative principle in elite performance. Jocko Willink, a decorated SEAL commander who led Task Unit Bruiser in the Battle of Ramadi, tells a story that every person who wants to change their life needs to hear. During a nighttime operation, a series of miscommunications led to a friendly fire incident. American soldiers shooting at American soldiers. One Iraqi soldier was killed. 2 SEALs were wounded. It was a disaster of coordination, with mistakes at every level of the operation. When the investigation began, everyone had someone to blame. The radio operator blamed unclear communications. The ground team blamed the intelligence briefing. The snipers blamed the lack of proper identification markers. Every person involved had a legitimate reason why the failure wasn't their fault. Jocko stood up in front of his commanding officers and said 3 words: "It was me." Not "mistakes were made." Not "we need better systems." It was me. The commander took complete responsibility for everything that happened under his leadership. Not because he personally made every mistake, but because he was the leader. And leaders own everything in their world. That's when something shifted. Once blame stopped bouncing around the room, solutions became possible. Once one person absorbed all the responsibility, everyone else was freed to focus on fixing the problems instead of defending their positions. This is the power of radical ownership. It ends the blame game. It stops the endless cycle of finger-pointing and excuse-making. It puts you in the only position from which change is possible, the driver's seat. But let me be clear about what radical ownership is not. It's not self-punishment. It's not wallowing in guilt. It's not beating yourself up for every mistake you've ever made. Those responses are just another form of weakness. Another way your brain keeps you stuck in the past instead of moving toward the future. Radical ownership is cold. It's strategic. It's the dispassionate recognition that blaming external factors accomplishes nothing. You look at your situation, you acknowledge your role in creating it, and you immediately shift focus to what you're going to do about it. The average person spends enormous energy on blame allocation. Something goes wrong, and their first instinct is to figure out whose fault it is. They analyze the situation. They identify the external factors. They build a case for why they're the victim of circumstances beyond their control. And they feel better. For a moment. Because victimhood is comfortable. Victimhood means you don't have to change. The elite person skips this entire process. Something goes wrong, and their first question is, what could I have done differently? Not because they're masochistic, because that's the only question that produces useful answers. Let me give you a practical example. Two people get passed over for a promotion. Person A immediately identifies all the external factors. The boss plays favorites. The company culture is political. The other candidate had connections. Person A feels validated in their victimhood. They complain to friends. They update their resume. They start looking for a new job where they'll be appreciated. Person B asks a different question. What did the person who got promoted do that I didn't do? Maybe they networked more effectively. Maybe they delivered more visible results. Maybe they communicated better with leadership. Person B doesn't care about fairness. Person B cares about effectiveness. And within 6 months, Person B has the skills and positioning that Person A is still complaining about not having. Same situation, radically different responses, radically different outcomes. Here's the part that most people miss. Radical ownership doesn't mean the external factors don't exist. The economy is real. Bad luck is real. Other people's decisions affect your life. These things are true, but focusing on them is useless. You can't control the economy. You can't control luck. You can't control other people. You can only control your response. And your response is always, always, always your responsibility. This is what separates the people who transform their lives from the people who stay stuck. The stuck people have better excuses. Seriously, they have more sophisticated explanations for why change is impossible. They've thought deeply about all the barriers. They can articulate exactly why their situation is uniquely difficult. The people who transform have worse excuses and better results. They don't waste cognitive energy on explanation. They spend it on execution. There's a formula that governs human achievement. Event plus response equals outcome. E plus or equals O. You can't control E. The event happens. What you control is R, your response. And your response determines O, the outcome. Most people obsess over E. They wish the event had been different. They resent the event. They use the event to justify their current position. Meanwhile, R sits there unused. The one variable they actually control, ignored in favor of complaining about the one variable they can't. Radical ownership means shifting 100% of your attention to R. The event happened. It's over. It's done. Now what? That question, now what, is where all your power lives. And you can only access that power when you stop leaking energy into blame. I need you to understand something. This isn't motivational philosophy. This is strategic reality. The most successful people in every field, without exception, have internalized this principle. They don't talk about it in interviews because it sounds harsh. But behind closed doors, this is how they operate. They got rejected. Their fault. They should have prepared better. They lost the deal. Their fault. They should have understood the client's needs more deeply. Their business failed. Their fault. They should have adapted faster to the market. Every setback is a mirror, not a window. They look at themselves, not at the world. And because they look at themselves, they can change themselves. And because they can change themselves, they eventually change their results. You've been carrying blame like a shield, protecting yourself from the uncomfortable truth that your life is your creation. But that shield is heavy, and it's blocking you from moving forward. Put it down. All of it. Every excuse. Every explanation. Every reason why your circumstances are someone else's fault. Let it go. Not because it's inaccurate, but because it's useless. You are responsible for everything in your life. That's not a burden. That's the key to your prison cell. But responsibility alone isn't enough. There's something you're doing right now, probably every day, that's sabotaging your success without you even realizing it. Something that feels productive but is actually poison. You're talking about your goals, and that talking is killing them. The next chapter reveals why silence is the most powerful weapon in your arsenal, and why the path to becoming unstoppable requires you to shut your mouth and let your results speak. Your liberation has begun. Now protect it. Chapter 6. The Silence Protocol. You told someone about your goal, didn't you? Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was a family member. Maybe you posted it on social media for the world to see. You announced what you were going to do. You declared your intentions. You shared your vision with people who smiled and told you how great it sounded. And it felt amazing. For about 30 seconds. That feeling was your goal dying. You just didn't know it yet. New York University's psychology department conducted a series of experiments that should change how you think about achievement forever. Researchers took two groups of people with identical goals. Group 1 announced their intentions publicly. Group 2 kept their intentions completely private. Both groups were then given time to work toward their goals. The results were disturbing. The group that announced their goals quit earlier, worked less intensely, and reported feeling like they had already made progress even when they hadn't done anything. The group that stayed silent worked longer, pushed harder, and actually achieved their targets at significantly higher rates. Telling people about your goals doesn't increase accountability. It decreases achievement. Here's why. Your brain doesn't distinguish between talking about something and actually doing it. When you announce a goal, your brain releases dopamine. The same dopamine it would release if you actually accomplished the goal. You get the reward without the work. You feel the satisfaction of achievement without achieving anything. Psychologists call this premature sense of completeness. Your brain registers the social recognition, the approval, the verbal commitment, and it thinks the job is done. The hunger that was supposed to drive you toward action gets satisfied by words. And a satisfied brain doesn't hustle. A satisfied brain rests. This is dopamine hijacking, and you've been doing it to yourself for years. Think about every goal you've announced that you never finished. Every New Year's resolution you told everyone about. Every business idea you shared at dinner parties. Every fitness commitment you posted online. You felt a surge of energy when you talked about it. People got excited for you. You got excited too. Then the energy faded. The excitement disappeared. The goal joined a graveyard of abandoned intentions. And you blamed yourself for lacking discipline. But discipline wasn't the problem. You gave away the fuel before you could use it. The average person treats goal announcement as commitment. They think that telling people creates accountability, creates pressure, creates a reason to follow through. In theory, this makes sense. If everyone knows about your goal, you'll be embarrassed if you quit. The social pressure will keep you going. In practice, the opposite happens. The social reward of announcing becomes a substitute for the actual reward of achieving. Your brain takes the shortcut. Why do the hard work when you can get the dopamine for free just by talking? Elite performers understand this. Watch how the most successful people operate. They don't announce. They don't hint. They don't share their plans until those plans are already accomplished. They let results speak because results are the only thing that can't be hijacked. There's an old phrase that captures this perfectly. Move in silence and let success make the noise. This isn't about being secretive for the sake of mystery. It's about protecting your psychological fuel supply. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you're spending currency that should be reserved for actually doing it. You're leaking energy that should be compressed and directed toward execution. The silence protocol is simple. You don't talk about goals and progress. Period. Not to friends. Not to family, not to social media. not to anyone. Your goals are classified information. Your intentions are state secrets. Nobody gets access until the mission is complete. This will feel uncomfortable. We live in an age of constant sharing. People broadcast their breakfast. They document their workouts. They announce their intentions as if public declaration were a form of action. Staying silent feels antisocial. It feels secretive. It feels like you're hiding something. You are hiding something. You're hiding your fuel from the thieves who would steal it with their approval and encouragement. Let me be clear about what counts as announcement. It's not just formal declarations. It's any conversation where you describe what you're going to do before you've done it. I'm thinking about starting a business. Announcement. I'm planning to get in shape. Announcement. I want to write a book someday. Announcement. Every statement of future intention, no matter how casual, triggers the dopamine response. Even subtle hints count. When someone asks what you've been up to and you mention the project you're working on, you've leaked. When you drop a vague reference to your plans, you've leaked. When you like or comment on content related to your goal because you want people to associate you with that topic, you've leaked. The protocol requires total information security. Now, there's an objection I need to address. What about accountability partners? What about coaches and mentors? What about the genuine value of external support? Here's the distinction. Accountability works when it's structured, specific, and focused on actions rather than intentions. Telling your friend, "I want to lose weight," is an announcement. It triggers the dopamine response. But hiring a trainer and showing up for scheduled sessions is accountability. There's no reward for talking because there's nothing to talk about. There's only the work. If you need external support, structure it around behaviors, not goals. Don't say what you want to achieve. Report what you've done. The conversation happens after the action, not before. This reverses the dopamine flow. Instead of getting reward for intention, you get reward for completion. Your brain learns that the only path to satisfaction is through execution. The elite don't seek premature validation. They don't fish for encouragement. They don't need external voices to confirm they're on the right path. They have something better. They have internal certainty. And they're willing to wait until the results are undeniable before they let anyone see what they've been building. There's another dimension to this protocol that goes beyond dopamine management. When you stay silent, you eliminate external interference. The moment you share a goal, you invite opinions. Some people will encourage you. Some will doubt you. Some will project their own fears and limitations onto your vision. All of them will affect your psychology in ways you can't control. Silence eliminates the noise. You don't have to manage other people's expectations. You don't have to defend your choices. You don't have to process feedback from people who don't understand your situation. You operate in a clean environment where the only voice that matters is your own. This is why the most transformative periods in people's lives often happen in isolation. Not physical isolation, but informational isolation. They disappear from social view. They stop updating people on their progress. They go dark. And when they emerge, they're different. They've changed in ways that wouldn't have been possible under observation. Your transformation requires the same protection. The person you're becoming is fragile right now. The new identity is forming, but not yet solid. Exposure to external commentary, even positive commentary, can disrupt the process. Keep it underground until it's unshakable. The silence protocol is your shield. It protects your dopamine. It protects your focus. It protects your emerging identity. It ensures that the only satisfaction you receive comes from actual progress, not from the illusion of progress created by talking. Shut your mouth. Do the work. Let the results announce themselves. But there's still one piece missing. Silence protects your goals. Identity drives your behavior. Speed defeats your excuses. Yet none of this creates the foundation of lasting change. That foundation is confidence. And real confidence doesn't come from affirmations or positive thinking. Real confidence comes from evidence, from proof you've collected through action. And the next chapter will show you how to build the kind of unshakable self-belief that can't be destroyed by criticism, failure, or doubt. Your silence has begun. Now let's build the evidence that fills it. Chapter 7. The Evidence Architecture. Affirmations are lies you tell yourself while hoping repetition makes them true. Stand in front of a mirror. Say, "I am confident," 100 times. Tell yourself you're powerful, unstoppable, worthy of success. Feel the temporary boost. Then walk into a room full of people who intimidate you and watch that confidence evaporate like morning fog. You know why it disappeared? Because your brain knew you were lying. The self-help industry has made billions selling people the idea that belief creates reality. Think positive thoughts. Visualize success. Repeat mantras until your subconscious accepts them as truth. It sounds appealing. It feels productive, and it almost never works. Here's what the research actually shows. A study published in Psychological Science found that people with low self-esteem felt worse after repeating positive affirmations. Not better, worse. The gap between what they were saying and what they actually believed created cognitive dissonance, so painful that their brains rejected the entire exercise. You can't lie your way to confidence. Your brain keeps receipts. Real confidence isn't built on words. It's built on evidence. Proof. Documented instances where you said you would do something and then actually did it. Every kept promise is a brick. Every completed commitment is mortar. And over time, those bricks and that mortar become a fortress that no external criticism, no internal doubt, no failure can penetrate. This is what I call evidence architecture, the systematic construction of self-trust through accumulated proof. Think about someone you trust completely. Maybe a friend, a family member, a colleague. Why do you trust them? Not because they told you they were trustworthy, because they showed you. They made promises and kept them. They said they would be there, and they were there. They demonstrated reliability through action over and over until trust became automatic. Your relationship with yourself works exactly the same way, except most people treat themselves worse than they would treat a stranger. You make promises to yourself constantly. I'll wake up early tomorrow. I'll start that project this week. I'll have that difficult conversation. I'll stop eating junk food. And then you break those promises. Casually, repeatedly, without even registering the betrayal. Every broken promise is a withdrawal from your self-trust account. Every time you say you'll do something and don't do it, you teach your brain that your words mean nothing, that your commitments are suggestions, that the person making the promise and the person who has to keep it are two different people who don't communicate. Is it any wonder you don't believe in yourself? You've given yourself no reason to. The average person makes promises based on how they feel in the moment. They feel motivated, so they commit to ambitious goals. They feel energized, so they set aggressive deadlines. Then the feeling fades, the motivation disappears, and they abandon the commitment without a second thought. They don't even categorize it as a broken promise. They just say they changed their mind or reassessed priorities. Your brain doesn't buy these rationalizations. Your brain tracks patterns, and the pattern it's tracked for most of your life is this. When things get hard, you quit. When the feeling fades, you fold. When the cost becomes real, you find an exit. That pattern is your current evidence. That's what your brain references when you try to convince yourself you can achieve something difficult. It pulls up the file, reviews the history, and delivers the verdict. Insufficient evidence to support this claim. You want to change the verdict? Change the evidence. Elite performers understand that confidence is earned, not declared. They don't waste time on affirmations. They invest time in proof collection. Small wins, documented victories, consistent demonstrations that when they commit to something, it happens. The size of the win is irrelevant. What matters is the consistency between intention and action. Say you'll make your bed in the morning. Make your bed. Evidence collected. Say you'll drink a glass of water before coffee. Drink the water. Evidence collected. Say you'll read for 10 minutes before checking your phone. Read for 10 minutes. Evidence collected. These seem trivial. They're not. Each one is a data point. Each one is a vote for a new identity. Each one is a message to your brain that says, when this person commits, this person delivers. The Japanese manufacturing philosophy of Kaizen is built on this principle. Small, continuous improvements. Not revolutionary change. Incremental progress. The factory doesn't try to increase efficiency by 50% overnight. It tries to increase efficiency by 1% this week, then another percent next week, then another. Over time, those percentages compound into transformation. Your self-trust works the same way. You're not trying to become a completely different person by tomorrow. You're trying to keep one small promise today, then another tomorrow, then another, until promise-keeping becomes your default mode of operation. Here's a practical system for evidence architecture. Get a notebook, physical, not digital. Every morning, write down one promise you're making to yourself for that day. Not 5 promises, not 10. 1. Make it specific. Make it achievable. Make it something you will do, not something you'll try to do. At the end of the day, record whether you kept the promise. Yes or no. No explanations. No justifications. Binary accountability. Do this for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, count your yes. That number is your current self-trust score. If you kept 25 of 30 promises, your self-trust is strong. If you kept 12 of 30, you know exactly where you stand. Most people have never quantified their relationship with themselves. They have a vague sense that they struggle with follow-through, but they've never confronted the actual data. The notebook forces confrontation. It eliminates the comfortable fog of self-deception. There's another dimension to evidence architecture that goes beyond personal promise-keeping. It involves how you process your history. Right now, your brain has a highlight reel of failures. Moments you quit, times you didn't show up, instances where you let yourself down. This reel plays on repeat, especially when you're considering something ambitious. It's your brain's way of protecting you from future disappointment. But that highlight reel is edited, selectively curated. It leaves out all the times you did follow through, all the challenges you overcame, all the moments when you pushed past resistance and delivered. Evidence architecture requires re-editing the reel, actively collecting and cataloging your wins, not to create false confidence, but to create accurate confidence, to ensure your brain has access to the complete data set, not just the failures. Start a victory log. Every time you do something difficult, record it. Every time you keep a promise, write it down. Every time you push through when you wanted to quit, document it. Build a searchable database of proof that you can access whenever your brain starts playing the failure reel. This isn't delusion. This is correction. Your brain has been running a biased algorithm for years, weighting failures more heavily than successes. The victory log rebalances the equation. Over time, something shifts. The evidence accumulates. The self-trust compounds. And one day, you realize that you no longer need to convince yourself you can do hard things. You have proof that you can do hard things. The internal argument is over. The case is closed. That's the confidence that can't be shaken. Not confidence based on positive thinking. Confidence based on documented reality. Confidence that says, I know what I'm capable of because I have a record of what I've done. Your evidence architecture starts today. One promise. Kept. Recorded. Repeated until the fortress is complete. But even the strongest fortress needs daily maintenance. Even the most solid confidence can erode if the environment works against it. And there's one environment that determines more than any other whether your transformation succeeds or fails. That environment is your morning. The first 60 minutes of your day. Win those minutes, and the day is yours. Lose them, and you're playing catch-up until you sleep. The next chapter reveals how to build a morning fortress that protects everything you've constructed. Because confidence built on evidence needs a daily ritual to stay unshakable. Your evidence collection begins now, one brick at a time. Chapter 8, The Morning Fortress. The battle for your day is over by 7 a.m. Most people have already lost before they finish their first cup of coffee. They wake up to an alarm they immediately hate. They reach for their phone before their feet touch the floor. They scroll through other people's lives, other people's opinions, other people's emergencies. They absorb the world's chaos before they've established their own order. And then they wonder why they feel reactive, anxious, and behind schedule for the next 16 hours. Your morning is not just the start of your day. It's the foundation on which everything else is built. Crack the foundation, and the entire structure becomes unstable. Fortify it, and you can withstand almost anything. This is the morning fortress, and most people don't have one. Research from the University of Nottingham and the British Psychological Society analyzed the habits of high performers across multiple industries. The single most consistent predictor of sustained success wasn't intelligence, education, or even work ethic. It was morning routine. Elite performers had structured, intentional first hours. Average performers had chaotic, reactive first hours. The difference compounded over time. A strong morning created momentum that carried through the day. A weak morning created drag that required constant effort to overcome. Multiply that effect by 365 days, and you begin to understand why some people seem to accomplish effortlessly what others struggle to achieve. Your brain is different in the morning, neurologically different. After sleep, your prefrontal cortex is recharged. Your willpower reserves are full. Your capacity for focused, intentional action is at its peak. This is your window of maximum cognitive power, and most people waste it checking Instagram. Here's what happens when you reach for your phone first thing. Your brain shifts into reactive mode. It begins processing external inputs before you've had a chance to establish internal priorities. Every notification is a demand. Every email is someone else's agenda. Every news headline is an emotional trigger designed to capture your attention. Within minutes, your recharged willpower has been depleted on decisions that don't matter. Your mental clarity has been clouded by information you didn't need. Your emotional state has been hijacked by content engineered to provoke response. You haven't even gotten out of bed, and you've already surrendered control of your mind. The average person thinks they're being productive by checking messages early. They think they're staying informed. They think they're getting ahead of their responsibilities. They're not. They're handing their best hours to everyone except themselves. The elite protect their morning like a high-security zone. Nothing gets in without clearance. No phone, no email, no news, no social media, no external voices until the internal voice has spoken first. This isn't about being antisocial or uninformed. It's about sequence. The world's demands will still be there in an hour. Your messages can wait. Your notifications aren't emergencies. But your mental state, once corrupted by external chaos, takes hours to restore. The morning fortress has 3 walls. Each one must be built before you engage with the outside world. Wall 1, physical activation. Your body needs to move before your mind can function optimally. Not because exercise is healthy, although it is. Because movement changes your neurochemistry. It releases cortisol in a controlled way, clearing the sleep fog. It triggers endorphin production, elevating your baseline mood. It signals to your brain that the day has begun and action is required. This doesn't mean you need an hour-long workout at 5 a.m. 10 minutes is enough. 20 is better. The key is intensity and intention. Cold water on your face. Push-ups until your muscles burn. A walk in the morning air. Something that tells your body, we're awake, we're alert, we're ready. The average person lounges in bed, eases into the morning, waits until they feel ready to start moving. By the time they feel ready, their peak cognitive window has closed. They've traded their most powerful hours for the comfort of a warm blanket. Wall 2, mental priming. Before any external input, your mind needs direction. This is where you set your intention for the day, not a vague wish, a specific commitment. What is the one thing that must happen today? What will you have accomplished by tonight that will make today a success? Write it down, not on your phone, on paper. The physical act of writing engages your brain differently than typing. It creates deeper encoding, stronger commitment. The promise becomes more real because you've made it tangible. This is also the time for the evidence architecture we discussed in the last chapter. Review your victory log. Remind yourself of recent wins. Prime your brain with proof of your capability. You're not hoping you can handle today. You're reminding yourself that you've handled days like this before. Wall 3, strategic protection. Decide in advance what will not happen during your first hour. No phone until a specific time. No email until a specific trigger. No news until a specific condition is met. These aren't suggestions. They're rules. Non-negotiable boundaries that protect your fortress from invasion. Most people fail at morning routines because they treat them as aspirations. They hope to avoid their phone. They try not to check email. They intend to exercise before work. Hope, trying, and intention are invitations for failure. Rules are different. Rules don't require daily decisions. Rules are pre-made decisions that eliminate negotiation. When the alarm goes off, there's no debate about whether to check your phone. The rule says no. When you walk past your laptop, there's no temptation to peek at email. The rule says no. You've removed the decision from the moment. You made it yesterday. All that's left is compliance. This is how elite performers make discipline look easy. They're not resisting temptation constantly. They've engineered environments where temptation doesn't exist. Their phone is in another room. Their email app is logged out. Their morning is structured so tightly that deviation requires more effort than compliance. Now, let me address the objection. Some people genuinely have responsibilities that require early morning availability. They have children who need attention. They have jobs that demand immediate response. They have circumstances that make a hermetically sealed morning impossible. Fine, work with what you have. Even 15 minutes of protected time is better than zero. Even one wall is better than none. The principle scales to your reality. The question isn't whether you can create a perfect morning fortress. The question is whether you're creating any fortress at all. Most people haven't even tried. They've accepted chaos as inevitable. They've surrendered their mornings to circumstance without testing whether protection was possible. Test it. Guard even a small window. See what happens when your first conscious minutes belong to you instead of to the world. Here's what you'll discover. The morning sets the tone for everything that follows. When the morning, and you carry momentum into every challenge. Lose the morning, and you spend the rest of the day recovering from a deficit. Your identity is shaped by the first decisions you make each day. Start with discipline, and you're a disciplined person. Start with distraction, and you're a distracted person. The votes accumulate. The pattern reinforces. Within weeks, your morning becomes your character. The fortress is not about perfection. It's about protection. Protecting your mental state. Protecting your willpower reserves. Protecting your capacity to execute on what matters before the world drowns you in what doesn't. You've built the architecture. You understand the pillars. You know how to reject weak thoughts, own your outcomes, protect your goals with silence, and collect evidence of your capability. Now you need the morning fortress to house it all. To give your transformation a daily foundation that can't be shaken. But here's the truth that completes this picture. Even with everything in place, you will fail. Your system will break. Your discipline will crack. There will be days when the fortress falls and the weak voice wins. What happens next determines everything. The next chapter reveals the protocol for those moments. How to recover without losing your identity. How to fail without becoming a failure. How to get back up so fast that the fall barely registers. Your fortress awaits. Build it tomorrow morning. Build it every morning after that. Chapter 9. When the system breaks. You're going to fail. Not might fail. Not could fail. Will fail. With absolute certainty. No matter how strong your system becomes, no matter how fortified your morning, no matter how bulletproof your identity, there will be days when everything collapses. You'll sleep through the alarm. You'll break the promise you swore you'd keep. You'll negotiate with the weak voice and lose. You'll reach for your phone before your feet hit the floor. You'll skip the workout, eat the garbage, avoid the hard conversation, abandon the plan. And in that moment, you'll face the most dangerous enemy of all, the story you tell yourself about what just happened. Most people don't fail because of the failure itself. They fail because of what they do after the failure. They turn a single bad decision into evidence of permanent inadequacy. They let one crack become a complete structural collapse. They use the stumble as proof that they were never capable of running in the first place. This is the real trap, not the fall, the interpretation of the fall. Your brain has a pattern recognition system that's constantly scanning for evidence to confirm existing beliefs. If you believe you're disciplined, your brain will highlight examples of your discipline. If you believe you're weak, your brain will highlight examples of your weakness. The interpretation you choose after a failure feeds directly into this system. Skip one workout, and you have a choice. You can say, I missed a workout. I'll go tomorrow. Or you can say, see, I always quit. I knew I couldn't stick with this. The action is identical. The meaning is completely different. And the meaning determines what happens next. Researchers at the University of California studied how people recover from goal setbacks. They found that the single strongest predictor of long-term success wasn't the number of failures. It was the speed of recovery. People who bounced back quickly, who didn't let the failure metastasize into identity collapse, achieved their goals regardless of how many times they stumbled. People who lingered in the failure, who analyzed it, dwelled on it, extracted maximum meaning from it, rarely recovered at all. They didn't fail more often. They just stayed down longer. This is the 24-hour reset protocol. When you fail, you have 24 hours to recover. Not 24 hours to wallow. Not 24 hours to analyze. 24 hours to execute a corrective action that reestablishes your identity. Miss the morning workout? You have until tomorrow morning to do something physical. Break the diet? You have until this time tomorrow to make a clean eating decision. Skip the important task? You have 24 hours to take meaningful action on it. The specific action matters less than the timing. What matters is that you don't let the failure sit uncontested. You don't let it become the final word. You override it with evidence that the failure was an anomaly, not a pattern. Average performers treat failure as information about who they are. They failed, therefore they are failures. The logic seems sound, but it's catastrophically wrong. A failure is an event. A failure is not an identity. You are not what you do once. You are what you do repeatedly. Elite performers treat failure as information about what happened, not who they are. They examine the mechanics. What went wrong? What was the trigger? What can be adjusted? They approach failure like engineers examining a malfunction. Curious, not crushed. Analytical, not emotional. There's a concept in aviation called a near miss. When two planes almost collide but don't, the event is documented, studied, and used to improve systems. No one suggests that the pilots are permanently incompetent. No one concludes that air travel is fundamentally flawed. The near miss is data, nothing more. Your failures are near misses. Data points in the ongoing optimization of your system. They reveal weaknesses that need addressing. They highlight triggers that need managing. They show you where the fortress walls are thin. This is valuable information, but only if you use it correctly. Here's what using it correctly looks like. You fail. You notice the failure without dramatic interpretation. You ask 3 questions. What triggered this failure? What will I do differently next time? What action can I take in the next 24 hours to re-establish my pattern? That's it. No extended self-criticism. No deep psychological excavation. No lengthy journaling about your childhood and why you can't stick to anything. Those activities feel productive, but they're usually just sophisticated forms of wallowing. The goal is not to understand yourself perfectly. The goal is to get back on track as fast as possible. Understanding can come later, after you've re-established momentum. Trying to understand while you're still down is like trying to fix your car while it's rolling into a ditch. Stop the roll first, then diagnose. Now, there's a specific type of failure that requires special attention. The relapse failure. This is when you break a streak you've been building. 30 days without alcohol, then a drink. 60 days of exercise, then a week off. 90 days of clean eating, then a binge. Relapse failures feel catastrophic because they seem to erase progress. All that work, all that discipline, gone in a single decision. The temptation is to conclude that the streak meant nothing, that you're back to zero, that you might as well continue failing since you've already ruined everything. This is the abstinence violation effect. Psychologists first identified it in addiction research, but it applies to any behavioral change. The belief that a single violation negates all previous progress leads to complete abandonment of the goal. The belief is false. Progress is not erased by a single failure. Neural pathways don't disappear because you skipped a day. Habits don't vanish because you made one bad choice. The person who exercised for 60 days and then missed a week is fundamentally different from the person who never exercised at all. What matters is the ratio, not the streak. If you kept your promise 8 days out of 10, you're building the identity. If you kept it 50 days out of 60, the pattern is clear. The misses are noise. The signal is consistency over time. This reframe is essential for long-term survival. Perfectionism kills more transformations than laziness ever could. The person who demands an unbroken streak will eventually break it and use the break as justification for complete abandonment. The person who demands consistent effort, knowing that some failures are inevitable, will sustain the transformation for life. You are not aiming for perfection. You are aiming for a trend, a direction, a general upward trajectory that sometimes dips but never reverses. There's one more piece to the failure recovery protocol: forgiveness. Not soft, unconditional forgiveness that excuses everything. Strategic forgiveness that refuses to let past failures contaminate future performance. Guilt has a half-life. It should decay. If you're still punishing yourself for something you did 3 days ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 years ago, you're carrying weight that serves no purpose. The failure happened. The lesson was extracted. The corrective action was taken. Continuing to carry the guilt is like continuing to pay for something you've already bought. Put it down, not because you deserve to feel good, because carrying it makes you weaker, not stronger. Because the energy spent on guilt is energy stolen from execution. Because your future needs resources that your past is currently hoarding. The system will break. You will fail. That's not a possibility. That's a guarantee. What's not guaranteed is what happens next. You can stay down. You can interpret the failure as destiny. You can use it as evidence that change was never possible for someone like you. Or you can get up, fast, before the story solidifies, before the identity shifts, before one failure becomes 2, becomes 10, becomes a permanent return to who you were. The 24-hour clock is always running. When you fall, the countdown begins. What you do before that clock expires determines everything. But recovery is not the final piece. There's still the question of permanence. How do you make all of this stick? How do you ensure that the transformation you've built doesn't slowly erode when life gets busy and attention drifts? The final chapter reveals the installation protocol, how to make these principles automatic, how to move from conscious effort to unconscious execution, how to become the person who doesn't have to try anymore, because the trying is built into who they are. You've learned to fall correctly. Now let's make sure you rarely have to. Chapter 10, the permanent installation. Everything you've learned is a weapon, but weapons don't fire themselves. You now understand how weak thoughts infiltrate. You know about the 5-second window. You've seen how identity drives behavior. You've learned to reject negotiation, own your outcomes, protect your goals with silence, build evidence, fortify your mornings, and recover from failure. The question is whether any of it will matter 30 days from now. Most people who consume self-help experience a temporary surge. They feel equipped. Then life happens. The insights fade. The techniques get forgotten. Within weeks, they're exactly who they were before. This is the consumption trap. Understanding doesn't create change. Installation does. Right now, everything you've learned exists in your conscious mind. You have to think about it to access it. Permanent change happens when principles move from conscious understanding to unconscious operation. When rejection of weak thoughts becomes automatic. When discipline isn't something you practice, but something you are. The bridge to automatic operation is built through deliberate practice with identity reinforcement. Every time you apply a principle, attach an identity statement. Move within 5 seconds. I am someone who acts before resistance can organize. Reject a negotiation. I am someone who doesn't negotiate with weakness. Keep a promise. I am someone who keeps promises. This is not empty affirmation. This is affirmation backed by immediate proof. You just demonstrated the behavior. Your brain can't reject it. Neurons that fire together wire together. When you consistently pair action with identity, you create new neural pathways. After 30 days, they're established. After 60, reinforced. After 90, they're your new default. But installation requires daily maintenance. 5 minutes every morning. 3 questions. Question 1. Who am I? State your identity out loud. I am someone who rejects weak thoughts before they control me. Question 2. What is my one non-negotiable commitment today? Not 5. 1. Specific. Achievable. Impossible to rationalize away. Question 3. What weakness will try to stop me, and how will I defeat it? Name the attack. Pre-decide your response. 5 minutes. 3 questions. Every day, skip it, and the system degrades. Perform it, and the system strengthens. Your weaker self heard everything you heard. It's already preparing counterarguments. It's planning how to make you forget, how to pull you back into old patterns. You have a choice. Let that voice win and slowly return to who you were. Or decide right now that the war is over, that the weaker version of you no longer exists, that the person who negotiated, who waited for motivation, who broke promises, who announced goals and never finished them, that person died today. The installation begins now, not tomorrow. Now, your weaker self is waiting for permission to return. Don't give it. Not today. Not ever.